I'm probably going to be in the minority this morning on this bill, and I will say up front, it's a protest vote, I guess you would say. But before I explain why I will not be supporting this bill, Mr. President, I want to say that I appreciate the work of the people in my community, in my area, who have hearts to help those with addictions. There's some tremendous people that have a mission in life and ministry in life, and Terria Walters is one of those, Mr. Weaver, Michael Carson, Michelle Overstreet, Philip Licht come to mind. They're heroes in my mind. And so I want them to understand that my vote is not in support of this bill today, because I heard from a number of practitioners around the state. They were hesitant to come forward because they didn't want to be seen as uncaring. They also didn't want to be viewed as possibly some of the overprescribers. In fact, a number of these practitioners never prescribed these particular opioids at all. They were concerned because the real problem, Mr. President, is we have pill mill practitioners and we have doc shopper consumers, drug seekers. And I actually hope that this bill will help the problem a little bit, but I really think it's only addressing a sliver of it, because it's not really providing the tool to go after the real problem. It will require some excellent practitioners around the state being better educated about the subject, but they, I don't believe, for the most part, are the problem. There may be a sliver of practitioners who don't realize they're overprescribing, and this may change their behavior, and that is my hope. But I don't really think that the bill gets to the root of the problem, Mr. President. And so that is my concern, that we're asking a lot of wonderful, hardworking practitioners who are very busy in their practices, and we're asking them to do a little bit more when they're not really the problem. And actually, this is quite a generational thing. My husband, a year or two ago, he was over in the town of Hoonah helping my folks with a project, and he's got a bad back. He had injured it when he was in Vietnam wearing a big, heavy, bulletproof vest, and he twisted some way where he could not stand up. He went to the clinic in Hoonah. They wouldn't touch it. He came to Bartlett. They wouldn't touch it. He flew home. I left here to go with him to the Matsu Hospital, and the young emergency room doctor, I could tell he thought my husband was drug seeking, would not give him anything for the pain. And my husband was in excruciating pain. We took him on into the hospital in Anchorage, and within a few hours, he was in major back surgery. That has been my experience, is that the physicians and practitioners tend to be very prudent and cautious about prescribing opioids. And some of the older physicians who were practicing when it was the trend and the thought that we shouldn't be in pain, some of those folks might be overprescribing. But I think for the most part, the practitioners realize that this is not, that there is a problem with this. So although, again, the requirements may help some who don't realize they're over-prescribing through these self-reports, and that will be good. My wish and preference would have been that the boards themselves, as they have been working on this, would have been able to come forward and regulate themselves. And you know, in lieu of that, we're doing this today. And again, I hope that it will help. I realize crime is very much connected. That's a problem in my community, and that's related to what is happening here. I also realize, after attending a summit that our federal public servant, Dan Sullivan, held in my community, that in some parts of this country, this problem is much more devastating than it is here, and I certainly don't want it to reach that point. So working on this and raising awareness, I believe, is a very good issue. But again, I'm going to be a protest vote, because I really think that we're not pinpointing the problem. We're asking a lot of good people to do a lot of extra that isn't going to move the needle. That's probably not a very good pun to use on this one, but I just want the folks back in my area to know that I do care about this problem. I care about the families who have struggled because of children and loved ones that are dealing with this issue. I believe that prevention, I believe we need to have the dollars for the treatment, but I just am not with the route of this bill. Thank you, Mr. President.